Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, many in Washington asking, now what? A small number of rebellious Republicans led the way to remove House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, despite overwhelming support from the GOP membership. We're going to take a look at what happened and what comes next. It's a global struggle with major consequences, what China is doing to gain more control over the world food supply. We're going to take a look at the Chinese moves and how it could mean shortages for the United States. She's known as the godmother of fashion. Now, a new film shows how she changed the world of modeling and how beauty is defined. We're going to bring you a look at the film Invisible Beauty. And from fights in school to revival among students, how God is moving in a small town in Kentucky. All those stories and more ahead today on CBN News Watch.
This is CBN News Watch.
Let's begin this half hour in Washington, where there is no Speaker of the House of Representatives in Congress after Republican Kevin McCarthy was removed when 8 Republicans led the move against him and, along with the Democrats, voted him out, even though the overwhelming majority of the GOP supported him. It was the first time in congressional history such a move was made. CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Matt Galka explains how it all went down and what comes next.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
By a vote of 216 to 210, the House removed Republican Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. Led by Florida Representative Matt Gaetz, 8 Republicans joined every Democrat to vote McCarthy out. The former Speaker's allies showing obvious frustration.
The chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Gaetz was the one to bring the motion to the floor.
It's the benefit of this country that we have a better Speaker of the House than Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy couldn't keep his word.
For me, it's not ideological. It's about having a leader in our nation who will tell the truth, who you can trust. And that's what the American people deserve.
You know, if you have to lose for something, I will always lose for the country.
McCarthy said he would not try for the Speaker's gavel again while bashing the hard-right members of his party who orchestrated his exit.
You all know Matt Gaetz. You know it was personal. It had nothing to do about spending. They are not conservatives.
Some of the Republicans who voted against McCarthy said he was untrustworthy, and they didn't like his bipartisan deal to avoid a government shutdown. McCarthy's supporters say their actions splintered the conference and gave Democrats the upper hand.
When you have a narrow majority, unity is our ally. Disunity is the enemy of the conservative cause. And today is evidence of the fact that we have now given our majority to Hakeem Jeffries because we have refused to stay unified.
Tennessee Republican Tim Burchett told CBN McCarthy sealed his removal vote when he felt McCarthy slighted him for praying about the situation.
I just felt like it was a condescending thing that he said to me. And then, you know, I said, and the conversation kind of got heated. And then, I just tried to hung up. I said, well, Lord, I guess you gave me my answer.
You said you're going to pray about it. I wanted to talk to you about it. And somehow he construes that I'm a Christian. I'm not going to offend somebody. I simply read his quote back. I thought there was still an opening, and I wanted to talk to him about it. He never mentioned anything when we were communicating like that.
All House business is effectively shut down until a new Speaker is elected. Yay. Some names are already being discussed, including House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Republicans hope to have a nominee next week. Matt Galka, CBN News.
Many prominent conservative leaders like former House Speaker Newt Gingrich announced the move to remove McCarthy, as did conservative writers and analysts. Now here's a look at some other important stories in the news beyond the headlines. The Colorado State Supreme Court will hear the case of Christian baker Jack Phillips, who declined to make a cake celebrating a gender transition. The court's announcement is another move in Phillips's long legal ordeal over his religious convictions that's lasted for several years. Phillips won a partial victory at the Supreme Court in 2018 after refusing to make a cake for a gay wedding because it promoted what would violate his religious beliefs. A transgender high school sophomore in Maine is facing backlash after being ranked 4th in the district as a girl. The Daily Mail reporting last year he was ranked 172nd when he ran as a boy. And a federal appeals court has upheld laws in Tennessee and Kentucky that ban experimental gender procedures for minors, like surgeries, cross-sex hormone treatment, and puberty blockers. Coming up, a hidden threat from China. We're going to hear about China's plans for the global food supply and how that could mean shortages for the United States. We're going to bring you that story. It's all coming up when we come back. Stay with us.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
A battle is underway over the world's food supply, and Africa is ground zero. China's long-term investment in African nations is turning the continent into a breadbasket to feed the Chinese. And that could mean shortages for the United States and the rest of the world. Gary Lane brings us this story.
This new war is happening right now without armies or any shots being fired. It's a global struggle with deadly consequences. Who will dominate the world food supply?
Food is power. We need to remember that, and this is very dangerous for the United States.
Our country's former UN ambassador for food and agriculture, Kip Tom, contends Africa is the new battleground in a conflict over global food dominance.
China wants to seize control of the continent of Africa, and it's not about the mining and the critical minerals. It's about agricultural productivity.
Gatestone Institute China analyst Gordon Chang agrees.
China has a food problem. It's worsening food shortages. Self-sufficiency percentages for food for China are relentlessly falling.
That's why this year ports in Shanghai are reportedly on target to receive 250,000 tons of food from Africa, valued at more than $500 million. The African Union wants to expand trade with Beijing and gain Chinese innovation to help expand long-term food production. Current agricultural technology has helped South Africa and Nigeria become the continent's largest food producers. Ambassador Tom suggests that led to an August visit by Chinese diplomats with Nigerian officials, followed by President Xi Jinping's trip to South Africa for the BRICS conference.
The reality is the Chinese Communist Party goes in through every country in Africa, investing in infrastructure and other projects and actually capturing the country's natural resources. But their ultimate goal is to have Africa be the breadbasket for the country of China to feed their 1.4 billion people.
And, we shouldn't have to worry just about Africa. We should be worrying about the U.S.
A future conflict over Taiwan or tariffs and trade battles could place the U.S. food supply at risk. Threatened regimes often use food as a weapon against their opponents. During the 1990s, the people of South Sudan refused to embrace Islam, and the Khartoum government retaliated by denying them food, causing many to die from starvation. Chang warns Americans should have learned from the COVID pandemic about food scarcity. While U.S. consumers couldn't get meat at grocery stores, the world's top pork producer, Chinese-owned Smithfield Foods, shipped pork to China. Although Smithfield is not a state-owned company, Chang believes it operated at the behest of the Chinese Communist Party.
It had to do what the party wanted. It shipped pork to China at the great detriment to the United States. So we got a problem at home.
China is also taking steps to lessen its reliance on U.S.-grown food. It's turned to Brazil, making it the top exporter of agricultural products to China, providing 20% of the country's food supply. So what can be done in the short term to strengthen the food security of the United States? Ambassador Tom insists the country needs to increase domestic food production and manufacture its own critical agricultural products, like fertilizers and others, rather than getting from adversaries like Russia, Belarus, and China.
This is a wake-up call, and we could be a food power, and we could use it in a manner that benefits the United States, but our friends and allies around the world.
Chang contends China is motivated by the doctrine of Tianxia, the belief the CCP has the right to rule all under heaven and an obligation to do so.
China's tried to dominate food because it wants to rule the world. And so we've got to understand the context of what is occurring. and the significance of what is occurring. And we Americans have not been good at doing that. We just ignore what our enemies say. We ignored Osama bin Laden until 9/11. We're ignoring the Chinese now.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Still ahead, she's known as the godmother of fashion. Now a film shows how she has changed the modeling world and how beauty is defined. We're going to have her story for you. It's coming up right after this. Welcome back to CBN News Watch. We return now with a powerful story of beauty behind the modeling industry. Beth Ann Hardison is known by some as the godmother of fashion. She fought for diversity and inclusion and changed the way beauty is seen and defined. Now a film chronicles that journey. She joined Studio 5 along with her co-director for a look at invisible beauty.
I always know you can change things. I've done it before.
Who is Beth Ann Hardison?
I started recognizing that she was this force of nature and this almost like philosopher. And then after the process of making the film, going deeper into the story of what she had actually done, how she had conducted her life, I became a little shy of her because I became really impressed.
Everyone's talking about diversity and inclusion. That directly stems from the work that Beth Ann did.
Without her, the opportunities wouldn't exist for me to do what I love.
She's like a second mother to me. That one shining light of kindness.
How difficult was it to navigate how this story would be told?
It was a very organic process, and I think that was a result of, deciding to work together as opposed to me doing a portrait of Beth Ann. It was like us both co-directing, and I thought, by collaborating, it would be a human adventure. I would be able to go deeper with Beth Ann, and it really did.
We're all students of Beth Ann Hardison.
You heard it first.
She didn't want to be front and center, but she came to the realization that's kind of she had to, and she didn't think she had a story, if you can believe it. Like, she didn't really think there was a story to tell.
She's the godmother of fashion.
When I started, I was the first black-looking model on 7th Avenue. There was no people look like me. I knew the difference of segregation from childhood. These people thought that we were less. I let them know we are here.
I got a chance to talk to your co-director, and one of the things that he said that surprised me was you didn't think you had a story to tell.
Well, if you're a real, true, just soldier, you're just a soldier. And you're doing the work. You don't sit around thinking, oh my God, this is so amazing. Someone should do a documentary about this. I mean, you're hoping that you make that move that works. You hope that you can make a difference. You know in your heart you can. You're counting on those that you're sort of like speaking to. But, but at the same time, you don't think that, until I saw all the footage, he sent it to me. He was so nervous. He said, I promise you, that was a moment I knew that I said that, now I know. You've made me a believer.
She realized she was the message. She represents this power.
One of the things you said at the very beginning that touched me is you seem to always know that you could change things. And I'm curious, where did that come from that you felt, I can change it, I can change it?
At some point, you just know that this is your journey.
A lot of designers did not use models of color.
No blacks, no ethnics.
You don't know what it's like to be invisible.
Where are the black girls?
You made strides and then sort of departed the modeling industry, if you will, and then watched things fall apart. What was it like to see that you made this progress and it seems like things just went in reverse in your absence?
Yeah. Well, it just wasn't even in my, it's just that the game changed, that the industry changed. All of a sudden, designers were hiring outside people like stylists. But you could see that the people who are doing it don't recognize what they're doing. They don't see it. They don't see it like I'm seeing it, or like people of color that are in the industry are seeing it. All of a sudden, you were there before, now you're being erased.
She moved our glamour and our good looks into the arena of activism. She's a game changer.
She sacrificed a lot.
What inside you made you want to be an activist? What made you decide, okay, I've done
I want to be an activist. Oh, no. Oh, my dear Ifra. I didn't, want to be an activist or, an advocacy or anything. You just, I knew I had the audience because people in the industry respected me. And I knew that I could say things because I believed in them.
My mother has enough ambition for the whole world.
It's really hard as a single mom. I was scared to fail.
She wants us to win more than anything. It gets a little challenging at times.
But that's going to be part of your great story.
I was telling someone, I said, well, I've known of her and followed her, but then I watched the film, I was like, wow, there was so much I just didn't know.
But people who've known me for 25, 30 years didn't know that stuff. I just want you to know that you're in the majority of the company, because practically everyone who's seeing the film really didn't know all that.
I don't know who I think I am, but I do be trying.
Do you have a wish for the audience or a hope or takeaway that they'll get?
I hope that people understand the history. I feel like so many people come out of the film saying, like, I had no idea. I had no idea that this happened. I had no idea that the fashion world had gone through this, racist practices.
I'm not here to put anyone down. I'm here to bring everybody up.
Without Beth Ann just having these press conferences and just kind of making everyone aware of that history, where it had been and where it needed to go, history will just repeat itself.
Once you meet this person, it's going to change your life.
Let's shake it up.
Invisible Beauty is in theaters right now everywhere. Damaged but Not Destroyed, it's the name of pastor and best-selling author Michael Todd's new book. I got the chance to speak with him about it. Here's a quick preview.
Every time God allows me to release a book, he tells me to do something very specific. He says, I want you to preach the book without preaching the book.
A new series of sermons and a new book from the pastor of Tulsa, Oklahoma's Transformation Church, Michael Todd. So, Damaged but Not Destroyed. Third book for someone who didn't like English. And as I learned in the book, was it like nutrition?
Yeah, nutrition class in junior in Tulsa Community College took me out. That was the end of my higher education. But it really is the grace of God that I am here today sharing about the things that I've been through and how God can take all damage and he can turn it into something that pushes you into destiny. See, most people think my damage started here.
Oklahoma pastor runs But
in reality, my damage started right here. The real fight is not just the enemy.
Let me dive right into Pastor Michael Todd's resume. Premarital sex, porn addiction, criminal record. We learn all of this in the book.
You learn all of this in the first 2 chapters.
I know.
I just believe that the Bible says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb. That's what Jesus does. And the words of our own testimonies. And too many people in the body of Christ, I believe right now, are very edited with the words of their testimony. And I think that we lose the power to overcome and help other people overcome. It really is what it is until God steps in.
Michael Todd's book was released this week. We'll have much more with him in the coming weeks. And for more uplifting entertainment news, join us for an all-new edition of Studio 5 tonight. We're going to take a look at On Fire. It's a film inspired by real-life events where a family fights to survive after a raging wildfire. You can watch it on the CBN News Channel at our new time. That is this evening at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. Coming up, a revival breaks out in the small town in Kentucky after fights at the local high school. We're going to bring you that story when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching CBN News Watch.
Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
I want to turn your attention now to Slaughters, Kentucky, which has a population of, just get this, 186. It's experiencing what has been described as God doing something unusual among the area's young people. After several fights reportedly broke out at an area high school over a 5-day period in September, part-time teaching pastor Tyler Feller tells CBN News the church congregation in Mount Gilead General Baptist Church rallied together and started an online intercession schedule. Feller said the church has since seen a youth revival. It began on September 15th. That scheduled event has warped into what is now known as the Unashamed Kentucky Youth Revival. 250 to 300 people have been attending, which is a lot for the small town, and 87 were saved as of last Friday. And there have been reports of high school students worshiping together before school and writing Bible verses on Post-it notes and leaving them to encourage their fellow students. You can find their full story at cbnnews.com. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is honest. I shared this reminder, as I've said before. Be honest with your Heavenly Father. He knows where you really are. He knows how you really feel, and He knows what you really want. He's big enough to handle your reality and to move you into His truth, which is so much bigger. Just be honest with Him. He's ready to receive everything. That will do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. You can always watch more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We look forward to seeing you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, and God bless.